For a second, I thought this video wasn't going to start. It took super long. It said, please wait, video loading. I'm like, what are you loading? Anyway, what's going on, y'all? If you're watching this live, you're here with me, of course, let me know. If you catch this on the replay or somewhere else on the internet, let me know too in the comments or a DM or whatever. That would be weird just to tell me that you saw a video. I hope that you would send me a DM with an insight that you got from the video. Anyway, I'm grateful just for a moment of chill because it seemed like a long day. You know, I ordered a couple books from Amazon. Don't judge me. And is it just me, or whenever you order something and you're waiting for it, like the time is just super slow, like slower than normal? Like there are days when time just doesn't move at all. But when you're waiting for a package, that's when it is the slowest. If I'm not alone, just leave a one in the chat because yeah, I hope I'm not alone. But what I wanted to talk to you all about is this idea that I discussed with my coach, one of my coaches, in a conversation we had a couple weeks back. I had told him that, you know, one of the reasons or one of the things that holds me back a little bit from sharing a bit more of my life and sharing more often and getting out there, you know, putting myself out there more, is this idea or this feeling that I get that my life isn't always aligned with what I feel like I have to say, right? Because there are times when my kids are getting on my nerves. There are times when my wife and I aren't seeing eye to eye, and it's not just because I'm 6'5" and she's not. I love you, boo. Um, there are days I'm just not feeling good. There are days I'm tired. There are days I don't feel like I believe in my own vision. There are times and there are moments where my energy is super low, and I'm like, I feel as though it's like, well, how can I show up feeling like this, right? And what my coach said to me was super profound because it was super simple. And he basically asked me, he was like, well, what's most important? Where you're going, or, you know, how fast you get there? And I'm like, it was, you know, obvious to me that the answer I felt was, you know, the direction you're going. Like you can take as long as you want sometimes, right? But the key that kind of fell out of the sky in that moment was this idea of just traveling the path, right? We get caught up, especially in today's social media age, and everybody's showing everyone like, oh, look at them balling. Yo, you can do what I did. You know, you can create 6 figures in 6 hours with these 7 steps. You know, I'm not, I'm not there yet. I don't think I ever get there. I don't want to be there, actually. Um, I would love to have a multi six figure business, though. That's for sure. But I digress. The point I was making was that, you know, we can impose on ourselves these standards that are, I don't want to say unrealistic, but that just aren't, they don't help us, right? They bind us. They're more constraining than they are liberating. They're more restrictive than they are expansive, and it doesn't give us much room to maneuver, right? So coming out of that, I understood more. So I'm like, okay, so it's easier to show up just knowing that within myself that I'm actually going the way that I'm talking about. I may not be seeing eye to eye with my wife at the moment, but that doesn't mean that I'm loving her any less. My children may be off the wall, but that doesn't mean that I'm not slowing down and checking in with myself and finding out what's triggering me. I may not feel like things are completely within my control and that my reality is conforming to my ideals, but that doesn't mean that I still haven't conceived of an idea and am pushing toward that mark. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to look to impact somebody else's life with this information and this knowledge and this wisdom that I feel like I have, simply because I don't feel completely aligned with it in the moment. I heard a story about a guy, I read it, as a blind man who actually walked the entire Appalachian Trail. I think this was back in the 90s. A blind man, just him and his seeing eye dog, walk, thousands of miles on the Appalachian Trail. And I think he's the only, blind person to ever do something like that, or to at least to do that thing. And he could have done that if at any point in time he veered from the path. You think about NASCAR. Granted, it's just left turn after left turn after left turn, but they never get to the end of the race if they get off the path. Granted, they stop in for pit stops every now and again, but then they come right back out. They're back to the races again, or the race. So I want to take a little bit of pressure off of myself. It may be off of you. I don't know. Maybe. But you don't have to feel like that you have it all together, that everything is perfect in your world. I know that on social media we see only highlight reels, or mostly highlight reels. Very rarely do we show when we're going through our dark times, when we're working through shadow phases, or just really having low moments. And then the times that people do share, it seems a little bit uncomfortable. Or somebody might say like, oh, is this really the place to share that? The way I see it, be you. If that's what you want to share it. If it's real, if it's honest, if it's who you're being in that moment, then be that. Because at the end of the day, that's all you can really be, right? We don't have to feel like everything has to be perfect before we can share it with somebody else, before we can invite somebody else in to walk with us. Because we all have struggles. We all have dark days. And it's easier to go through those times recognizing that other people go through the same stuff. Like, none of us are so special that we don't share at least that in common with the rest of humanity. I know it definitely helped me recognizing that, oh, wait, when my coach had said what he said to me, I was like, so I don't have to be the expert. I don't have to be the one with all the answers. I don't have to be the one that's going to solve everybody's problems. You know why? Because I can't. When I came into this world, there's a specific group of people that I've been sent here to help, to walk with, to work with. Everybody else, lovely knowing you. I'm glad we had the chance to cross paths. But, everything isn't for everyone, and everyone isn't for everybody. And that's okay. That's okay. Being yourself in each and every moment is literally the greatest honor that you can bear. Being free from not only the expectations and the boundaries that other people will set for you, but even the limitations that your own mind will look to impose on you. Being free from that is amazing. And you know what? I haven't gotten there yet. But I can say that, right? I can point to it and say, hey, this is amazing because I'm walking in that direction. I'm getting to the place where I recognize when certain fears and certain blocks come up within myself. And I can sit and have the conversation with myself and say, okay, where is this coming from? I can sit with it. I can love that feeling and let it go. Like, I don't have to beat myself down for not being perfect. I don't have to beat myself down for not having it all together. It happens. But the philosopher, Frank Sinatra, said, that's life. At least one of the philosophers who said that's life. It is what it is. It's an amazing thing to recognize that the life we live is about the experience. It is about growing through all the dirt, all the mud, all the grime, and coming out better on the other side. Coming out fuller. Because D. Master Gardener knows exactly the type of fertilizer that we need in order to become the best version of ourselves. And on the way there, right? Well, on the journey to becoming this, or as we are being that, right? And that's the paradox of being and becoming. This is like we have this idea in our minds of a place we haven't quite gotten to yet, and we recognize we're there, like we're living from that place, like that is us, and not yet. It's a funky dichotomy, actually, but it's simple, right? It's funky, but it's simple. We have in our minds this idea of who we wish to be, who we like to be, who we see ourselves as being. Like we can conceive of this highest version of ourselves and even beyond it, and recognize that while we live from that place, it's like we pull all our ideas from that place. We look to embody the qualities that that version of us has, and yet we recognize that we have it and we don't have it. It's like that's that's just kind of life. It's like I got it, but I don't got it. Like it's here and it's not. But it's definitely here though, because it couldn't not be here if it wasn't already here. I'll let you worry about that. But yeah, man, that's what I wanted to say tonight. You know, don't worry about being perfect. Like I wasn't even sure I was gonna go live right now tonight. Cause I'm tired as crap. You know, we've had a long day. Right now, Daji is fighting germs, or his body is fighting germs, and my wife is out with him. And I was here with the other three littles, and I'm tired, y'all. But I went live the past 2 days, so this would be day 3. So I got a little streak going. So we can see how far I can take it. But no pressure though, because I guess the essence of this live is we're perfectly imperfect. That's a whole nother conversation in itself, right? This idea of perfection and the attainability of that as a humanoid person. Personally, at this stage in the game, I feel like in our imperfections, we are perfect the way we are. No need to get upset about being something or not. There's no need, I feel, to be upset about not being something that you're not. And we just run ourselves in this loop in our minds about like, oh my gosh, I'm not what I want to be. You know, it's just like we walk around in this this nonstop like internal pity party about wanting to be somewhere that we're not. You know, and that's calling back to the being and not being at the same time. Byron Katie, you know, wrote a great book, Loving What Is. It is about loving life, loving people, loving situations as it shows up. And however it shows up, that's perfection. That is perfect the way it shows up. We may not like it. We may not agree with it. There may be a part of us that wishes it were different, right? But however it shows up is perfect. However you show up is perfect. It's only when we wish something to be different, it's only when we wish ourselves to be different that we call it imperfect, and then we cause strain and struggle and stress and what's the word? Resistance. and suffering, right? That's the word. We create mental suffering. And that's what like a lot of spiritual teachers and people, that's like their main message, you know? Is like get attached to what is. Because to live in the past creates depression. To create a different past, to create a past that wasn't, creates depression. To create a future that you're anxious for, creates fear. And so we live in this heightened state of stress hormones and in this internal sufferings, right? Simply because we fail to attach to the now in this present moment. I saw a meme, or it was a TikTok video. It was a TikTok meme, emotion meme. And in it, they said that, you know, when you're alone, no one else in the world exists except inside of your mind. And just think about that for a second. Like, of course, we may say, oh, well, no, of course other people exist. Like, even now in this life, there's somebody else in the world. But the only reason we can acknowledge that somebody else's presence in the world is because, like, we are the observer observing the observed. Like, there's something to observe. But when there's nobody else around, we must stop giving individuals in situations, especially past situations. Gotta let the past go. Gotta stop giving individuals in past situations rent-free living inside of our minds. I had a situation at work with a coworker. Literally for 2 years, it would bother me every time this person was around because for whatever reason, they decided they didn't want to get along with me. And for 2 years, in my mind, I was like, dag, how am I going to change them? How am I gonna win them back? How am I going to get on their good side? Was it something I did? Was it something I said? And I tried. I put out the olive branch. I said, hey, what's going on? Trying to make that cordial conversation to see what was what. But they made it clear they wanted no interaction with me. And I had to get to a point where I recognized, all right, it is what it is. Can I love them as they are and not want them to be different? Because in me wanting them to be different, wanting them to accept me, wanting them to embrace me again, I created this space in my mind that literally created tension inside of my body every time they were around, because I was wondering how they're going to respond to me. And they made it clear they didn't want to respond to me. So in my wanting their acceptance, created an inner struggle for me. But learning to let that go, learning to let them be, learning to accept things as they are in that moment was so freeing. And now, I think this is the first time I ever said something publicly about it, But that's what freedom does. It allows you to move in ebb and flow. And honestly, I didn't write anything down for this. It's like however spirit decides to move and show up, that's what's going to happen. And I'm playing with this bracelet because I think I'm nervous somewhere. Just calling myself out. Gotta be aware and recognize these things. But it's all a practice, right? Every day is another day to be aware and to practice what it is that we preach. And that brings me all the way back around. You see how that works? This brings me all the way back around to what I was saying before. That doesn't matter when you get there. It doesn't matter whether you walk, whether you run, whether you crawl, whether you fly. You know in your mind the direction that you're going in your life. And if you're, like me, you're a coach or you're a teacher or you're doing anything in the world where other people see you, whether you're an artist, an entertainer, athlete, are you walking the walk? Not walking the walk perfectly. None of us came out with Grammys. None of us came out with, Nobel Prizes. None of us came out with, Hall of Fame induction jackets. Everybody, when they start at anything, starts from zero. And then we work our way up. Working on ourselves, working on our craft. That's the path. And for me, as this spiritual junkie who just really wants to make an impact by loving people, loving and inspiring them, I recognize there is much on this walk that is to be learned. And who knows, I may not learn it all in this lifetime, and that's okay. But what will I do with what I have? And I think that's the question we all need to ask ourselves. What will we do with the gifts and the opportunities that we've been given now? Can't worry about the opportunities I've had and may have squandered, right? But I know this to be true, that everything that is happening for the highest good of not only myself, but of my family and of everybody that I come in contact with. Because my world takes care of me. Because, yeah. That's how I choose to see the world. That's what I choose to believe about it. And you can't change my mind. Maybe. You might, if you can present some sort of compelling evidence, maybe. But, yeah, man, I hope there was something in these evening rambles for you. If there were, let me know. But I'm going to go lay down now. Actually, I'm going to read a book and lay down and wait for Ida and the young man to get back. So until the next time, y'all, much love.